AIVANHOV. Received by Jean-Luc Young, July 14, 2020. Well, dear friends, I am happy to come again to exchange with you, to commune with you, and allow me first of all to convey all my blessings to you. So, of course, I ask that there be no questions, because all the questions will, of course, turn on what is happening at the moment collectively, will they not? So, of course, you are witnessing, I would say, life, if I may say so, all this cinema that is being unveiled, and which is taking you, or not, by the way, into various reactions, acceptances, fights or denials, if I may say so. Each one of you is living exactly, and very exactly what is to be lived, to go through, to pass through and to discover the truth behind this particular theatre that you are going to live. We told you a very long time ago that there would never be any turning back, and that it would be an increasingly rapid progression, and that is exactly what you are living. Please, and I'll tell you again, as I said last time, the important thing, in terms of everything you see, everything you feel, everything you perceive, is acceptance. That is to say, all that you are living, all that you see at the level of society, at the level of nature, at the level of the elements, at the level of your family, at the level of your own inner positioning, is not there to be judged, is not there to be condemned, is not there only to be unveiled, but above all to wake up from this nightmare. So, of course, we have never hidden from you that what you are going to live, and what you are living, is going to be more and more nightmarish. Everything you're going to see outside is going to fall apart, disintegrate, explode in all the cogs of what you call society. You have been warned for years. I refer you to Brother K, and during the year 2012, when he was talking about organizations, societal structures, all of that maintains the dream somewhere, and all of that, you'll see it because this dream has become a nightmare, even for those who still have perceptions, visions, whether it be of a new land, of a new world that comes into contact with us. All of that is a total illusion with regard to the truth that you are beyond being and non-being. We have told you, and Bida has been telling you for years, that you're anterior to creation, anterior to form, anterior to consciousness, anterior to any dual notion of good and evil. And you have the extraordinary opportunity, in what is happening at home, in you, around you, in societies, in countries, to turn away from this masquerade, and find the truth that is only in you and nowhere else, what Enel called at the time absolute truth versus relative truth. As long as you are looking for a solution to this society, to this world, to your conflicts, to your problems, it is quite simple, you are not available for the truth. You are driven by dreams, by vision, by perception, by resentment, and you are not at rest, you are not in silence. I insisted with heaviness the last time I came in the month of June, on this notion of silence. There is no other solution than to remain in silence in front of your thoughts, in front of your emotions, in front of your sufferings, in front of your emotional, friendly, professional and fraternal relationships, than to remain in the truth of silence. As long as you are struggling, as long as you are trying to change anything to what is, you have not understood, and you have not lived that all this is only a bad joke. Creation is a dream, a myth, it has been said, but now it is at its ultimate point of completion, which is chaos. You have entered into chaos, but you are not concerned with chaos, because you were prior to chaos, and all this truth is accumulated in its simplicity, in its evidence. We have told you for years in the heart of the heart, that is to say that as long as you are carried away by an emotion, by a vision, even by a being of light, of pure light, you cannot be free today, because you must realize, in every sense of the word, that there has never been anyone, except this clown who gesticulates that you call your character, your story, who believes he is evolving, who believes he is involute, who believes he has reached a point. You have never moved from that initial and final point. And it's very simple to do. And the more the chaos will grow in you, in your body, in your family, in your friends, in your profession, in society, you will only be able to turn towards your interior, towards the heart, because nothing outside, from now on, will be able to function. So, of course, I know that there are still many dreamers who seek to escape from what is, the reality of the present instant, to project themselves into a world afterwards, into a stellar origin, to avoid going through chaos. But it is by going through chaos that you discover freedom and truth, which do not depend on any scenario, any story, any resentment, any karma, and, above all, any becoming. And there, you discover the truth. You are free. You are, as we have told you, more and more numerous to discover it. But some of you are unconscious of it, and at that moment, it will lead to a certain number of mechanisms that I will call defensive mechanisms, projection mechanisms, avoidance strategies, not to see you as you are in the dream. All that, you must, with strength, with certainty, with a faith that has nothing to do with belief. You are the truth, you are the unknown, you are the one you are looking for, but you cannot look for him, you can only recognize him. It is part of all the teaching of Bidi and other enters for years, with the side of the feminine, of all the stars who have invited you to this love which does not depend on any circumstance, on any character, in order to make you discover, as the head chief said, that you are no form, that you are the space between forms. That is agape, interdimensional spatial resonance as he called it. Today you don't need all that anymore. You just need to be totally immersed in what is the present instant at all levels. It means that if there is a thought, whatever that thought is, it means that if there is an emotion, whatever that emotion is, but it is not a matter of repressing them, it is a matter of seeing them, and not allowing yourself to be put in reaction or in movement, so that you can stay still, to remain immobile, whatever happens to this world, whatever happens to your consciousness, and whatever happens to your body. And there, even if you have to start from a devastating cancer, you will emerge with the most total bliss, and you will recognize yourself beyond any paradigm, beyond any being of light, which are, in the end, as Bida said, even by a subjection today in relation to your freedom, which is not to depend on any world, any entity, any form, however intelligent it may be. You are the creative intelligence, you are the creator of this nightmare, you are entirely responsible, there is no guilt in that, there is just understanding that, by dint of dreaming, by force of dreaming, you can only wake up with a nightmare. But when you have gone through it, you will laugh at yourselves, you will laugh at your residual memories, whether they are emotional memories, your childhood memories, your past memories, or your future memories that do not exist. You are still heavy for many of you, even having lit agape, because somewhere, consciousness will drag you into the reaction to chaos, into wanting to denounce the masquerade, but you cannot denounce anything, you can only digest this bad nightmare, you can only absorb it, as you were doing at the time with the absorptions of essences and the baths of love that you were creating. But today, you no longer need speeches, you no longer need the other, you no longer need brothers or sisters who are only you. It is a literal language, the other is you in totality, and as long as you do not live it, you are not free. You are living energies, you are living vibrations, you are living experiences, you are living samadhi, but you have not seen that all this is consciousness and that you were prior to consciousness. So I say this because you're a lot to live agape, to feel this unconditional love that does not depend on anyone. But, for many, you continue somewhere to nourish the dream and to nourish the world, if only by looking at it, as we have been telling you for years with the people of nature. Go into nature, but do not believe in anything of this society, I would say, not even to feed yourself, because you will understand very soon, that nothing can be bought, and that everything is already in profusion in the heart of the heart, and I am voluntarily also talking about food. That doesn't mean that you have to have a vegetable garden now, but it does mean that even the needs we call vital, to eat, to breathe, to have a roof over your head, to have affection, to have status, are absolutely nothing. And as long as you are not convinced of this, by yourselves, and not by speeches, not even by agape resonances, what do you want us, beings of light, or incarnated brothers and sisters, to do for you today? It is your responsibility, it is your autonomy. As long as you depend on a look, on an energy, on a circumstance, you are not free. The one who is free, we have told you all the time, does not decide anything, he follows the evidence of life, and we have told you for years that you are not your life, but that you are life. Even while living agape, how many of you discovered that you were life and not your life? How many of you still have memories, struggles, remembrances, projections, which are the hallmark of man? It is not a condemnation that I say, beware, especially if you live the vibrations, agape, the agape state, even if only on certain occasions. It is not made to discover that it is the truth, it is made to discover everything that is not true, and everything that happens. Your life, your birth, your death, your children, your parents, are not true, they are you. As soon as you accept that, there is no question of giving up, as we have said, the companion, the profession, but you see clearly, you see that there is nothing to see, you're in the white paradise, and nothing of this world, and nothing of your body, today, in the weeks that are being specified there, must affect you, and cannot affect you, if you are free, even the death of this body, even the death of a parent. Of course, there will be emotions, because there are attachments, but these attachments will appear for what they are, pure vanity. Freedom knows no attachment, freedom knows no world, that is what you are living through, the generalized chaos which, I am not hiding it from you, I have already told you for 2 months, will intensify day by day, until collectively, at least for human souls, you decide to understand that all this is really a nightmare, a dream. Even the life within this world, this life that we have tried so hard, each and every one of us, to make you touch, and live in your hearts, whether it is through resonance, whether it is through the people of nature, whether it is through silence, today you are fully free, especially if you believe the opposite. It is that you have not seen, nor lived, because you have put your history, your complaints, your memories, your habits before you, as we have been saying for years. But you are also more and more numerous, as soon as you go beyond this point of the heart, which is at the limit, as I believe Ebba used to say, of being and non-being, the sort of junction of being and non-being, you discover that even the hierarchies, of which we are still in this hierarchy of the intergalactic confederation of free worlds, has no substance and has only been a bad drug to accompany the end of history. The story is not true, it was constructed, it was created by the geneticians' mothers, who dreamed of creation, who, as you know, had a rather peculiar alchemy with what have been called the Dracos or the reptilians, but that's all cinema. I would tell you that there are no more Dracos, Ekans, than God, than the devil, than you or me. And when you live in that state, you are free. It's not just agape. It is the moment when you realize in your life that nothing can deviate you from this inner felicity, which is inner. It is not necessarily manifested as a gape on the outside, but it keeps you in the immobility and immutability of felicity. Exactly as the stars have described it to you in their lifetime, or throughout the time of the O You Trust Dimensions teachings. Today, and we have told you gradually, there is no one. You have to get rid of all these costumes, all these masks, and it's paradoxical, you see, in the inversion of this world, you're all going to wear masks all over the planet. That is the sham, that is the masquerade, that is the inversion of the total truth, since you're already in silence in the heart and motionless. So you can see it in 2 ways. Either the wearing of the mask and the masquerade of the viruses and all that is being done to you on this planet, you're afraid, you are trying to run away from it, or you agree to stand still, and, of course, very soon you will not be able to do anything but stand still where you are. You know, it has been called stasis. There are some among you, moreover, who for many months now, since what you have called confinement, have been reliving what happened at my announcement of January 2018 or 2019, when we had decided to do silence for a year. That is to say, whatever you do outside, you will fail, whatever you do outside, without having seen who you are, will fail. It is not a punishment, it is not a retribution, it is not a karmic law, it is precisely the grace that is in action, it is the creative intelligence that sets you free, because you are that. So do not judge anything. Of course, it is horrible, and we have always told you that all the horrors of this world must appear, and I can tell you, on this day of July 14th, that you have not yet seen anything. You have not yet seen anything of all that was hidden, of all that was perverse within this dream. It reaches limits, I would say, which cannot be acceptable by the person, nor by the soul itself, nor even by the spirit, nor even by your conscience, but only by the truth that you are. When you will be tired at fighting, when you will be tired at denouncing, it has been an important step. It was necessary to illuminate this theater scene, it was necessary to illuminate this masquerade, but it is not yet totally illuminated. You have not seen anything. The show will become grandiose. So depending on where you look, of course, grandiose in horror, or grandiose in truth. It is however the same final scene that will be played and that has been announced by all the prophets, of all times, of all countries and all cultures. You're in it. Of course, denial and anger may still manifest themselves, but you will find that behind acceptance, in its noblest sense, even if it has sometimes been called a little harshly, sacrifice, or resurrection, is absolutely nothing, and you discover on the other side that you're at peace, and that nothing can come to disturb this essential peace. It is the peace of your nature, of your essence, before the creation, before the manifestation, and at that moment, you will only be able to see that there can no longer be resistance, as we were saying, that there can no longer be suffering even for a body that is very sick, and that exists, because you're really free from the dream. You're on this world, but you are not of this world. No one else is from any world, not even a stellar origin, not even a lineage. It is all part of the dream of creation, of the myth of creation, which necessarily ends in a total nightmare. And paradoxically, as we have always told you, announced and prepared, the more the chaos grows, the more you're at peace. If you are not, it is because you still believe somewhere in what you see, in what you feel, in what you perceive, but you are not available for the emptiness of the present instant and of time zero in its entirety. As soon as you live the present instant, even if it seems to move away, it can never disappear, and you will see that peace that will truly, as I have said, be unshakable, that one arm is cut off, that your wife sleeps with your best friend, that you lose all your fortune, that you're on the street, will change nothing. And there you will laugh, because you will understand, individually, that it is exactly as we have always said, what you needed to be free, even if today it seems absurd to you, even if it still seems to you to be light years away from that blissful bliss of silence, of time zero, of the present instant, of agape. You will live it, there is no other alternative. And remember that the more numerous you are, not to react, but to enlighten, without wanting to denounce, but simply by your own radiance of joined presence and absence of being and non-being, that you will go through all this. So of course, you have many brothers and sisters around you who are already in this, but they will not tell you, because if they tell you, it will irritate you even more, you who are not there. On the other hand, they will be there, they are there in their presence, in their absence, beyond all energy, beyond all vibration, they are all the Eba. Eba told you, you're all Eba, but when you're Eba, you can play with the dream, but at no time can you enter into any reality of this dream. You see it, you feel it, you can feel it, you can have images, but you are never again fooled by all these scenarios, by these energies, by these chakras, by these stars, by these gates, by the intergalactic confederation, and even by me. You must be free and you must decide everything, 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 I would say as in the movies, in your soul and conscience, but I would say especially in truth. I remind you that it was a phrase in history that was uttered by Christ countless times. In truth, I tell you. In truth, today I tell you. You are nothing of what you think, you are nothing of what is written in this form, you are nothing of your emotions, you are nothing of your diseases, and you are nothing of your joys. And it will become clearer and clearer, whatever you have to go through to awaken, and, as soon as you're awakened, the difference will become more and more noticeable. Whatever you see, no matter how angry it may seem, it's just an act, but you know it, you're living it. But you can't say to the one who is suffering, as I say to you, stop your acting. What you are living is not true, because for him it is the only reality. then at that moment, you no longer seek to help, you no longer seek to be a rescuer, you no longer seek to console, you remain in being, at the junction of non-being. And there, your light and silence act. And I believe that moreover, whether in meetings in the flesh and blood as you say, or even in the fashionable way, how you say it today, virtual or digital on your screens, you will feel it. It will be enough for you to be in resonance, in relation, with the name, with the face, with the situation that is agape, and you will experience it instantly. That is to say that you will go through the ultimate habits, not of your character, but of the consciousness, which is to believe that you're a form, which is to believe that you must evolve or involute. That is the truth for the consciousness, but it is not the truth for what you are. If you accept that, you'll live it. There is no need for arguments, there is no need to philosophize, there is no need for energies, there is no need for chakras, there is no need for sacred lemnisate or elementary triangles from now on. You just need to nod, nothing is true, and at that point you are the truth. It is an inner decision, but you can't make that decision, and still have clinging, if I may say, with this world, in any way, shape or form. You are set upon this world, but you see it and you will see it more and more as a nightmare that has no beginning, no end, but in fact never existed. The final point, the Omega, is nothing more than the initial point. I have repeated it to you, and Baidu, and others have said it to in these years that have just passed. There is no initial moment, there is no final moment, there is no scenario, there is no route race, because everything is happening at the same time, in spaces that are totally intertwined, and dimensions that are totally intertwined. You have to go beyond consciousness, you have to go beyond spirit, beyond the paraclete, you have to discover, within you, what Ayoun told you in her few interventions, beyond the form as she was telling you, she was not a form, she is the space that has gone through all times. That's what you're all about. But you will no longer be what you're in truth, you will no longer be able to deal with this nightmare. The time has come to withdraw, not from society, not from your husband or your wife, or your children, or your grandchildren, but to withdraw within yourself. You can be at the factory, you can be at the beach, you can be on a resuscitation bed, all of you have the same ability today, right now, to live this instantly. And don't come jimbering or grumbling, if you don't live it, it's not society's fault, it's not because you're not ready, it's not because you're not worthy, it's not because you've made mistakes, it's simply because you don't accept it, whatever you say. If you accept the joy, you are the joy. If you accept silence, you're instantly silence. There is no need for energy, there is no need to raise the wave of life, or to activate the sacred lemnisate or to have visions. And then you discover yourself as the truth being and non-being, which has no history, no past, no future. And more of you, I am sure, are living it, even without being able to put words to it, whatever your age, whatever your sex, whatever your social life, wherever you are, systematically you go, you have already noticed it, in those spaces where there is nothing, where there is just silence, we cannot even say that it is acceptance and reception, because acceptance is a movement from the outside to the inside, which was indispensable, but today there is not even any movement, neither towards the inside nor towards the outside. The double terrace of the heart that's head chief has developed you all last year and 2 years ago, and recently with the scalar waves, has no more reason to be, you are the Alpha and the Omega. You are the way, the truth, the life, but you are not from any world, and this allows you to understand, in the noble sense of the word, who you really are. You're of no history, you're of no intergalactic confederation, you're of no stellar origin, but there had to be a maturation that took place through precursors. Of course, there was Nisargadatta, who came from outside the Melchizedeks. And you have one who is with us who has never spoken, but whose writings are now beginning to be very well known, because he spoke the truth, well before anyone else, and I would say in a more intelligible way than Nisargadatta. Even though, pedagogically speaking, he spoke of a new race to come, but it was a pedagogical need. Do you believe that anyone who lives the truth envisages taking on a given body, form or dimension? No, it is impossible. Reread what Mahananda Moya said to you while she was alive as in what she received. Reread what Gemma or Terezi of Lisieux said, everything we have talked about, the path of childhood, of innocence, of sacrifice, of humility, of simplicity. Today, the door, which never existed, is wide open. I can't tell you any better. But your mind will find you every alibi to say it's not possible. Your conscience will rise up. Your energies will tell you, it is not possible, since life is energy and vibration. And I tell you, however, that this is the only truth. Live it. You do not need to convince anyone. You need, somewhere, to rest within yourself, whether you are professionally active, whether you're on your deathbed, or whether you're a young teenager in full exuberance of his sexuality or anything else. Everyone has the capacity in human souls to live this felicity of zero time instantly. But today, as long as you believe that you have to open this kekra, this crown, or let the wave of life that you can feel rise, for those who live it, of course. You no longer depend on that. You no longer depend on energy. You no longer even depend on the law of grace, and even less, of course, on the law of action/reaction, because you are the law, because you are grace, and there has never been anyone. The time of forgetting is over, and it doesn't take anything to maintain as knowledge or as a frame of reference. It requires, as we told you and as head chief said, being naked. This naked love, the expression he used during all the work that was accomplished with others among you in 2018, is today finding its true completion. The true completion is to effectively understand, by living it, that this is only a dream, totally, as Baidu was saying. First you are the observer, you refute, you see the actor on the theater stage, then you see the observer, you get up from your theater seat, the curtain falls, you leave the theater, and then what do you see? That there was never a theater. That's exactly right. Ask your brothers and sisters who are in this immutability, in this silence, whether they live or not the energies. I would even say that it is easier without vision and without energy, because even if you feel the fire, the tremors, this inner heat, the rising crowns, the pain in your back, whether it is in your lower back, in the middle of your back, around curiosity in your back, whether you have various and varied symptoms. Today, you have no better treatment than to say that you are none of the above. You are the unknown. We have told you this in every possible way, and today, I'm also repeating a sentence that I said and that I repeat today with insistence. Everything you care about, holds you. If you care about your life, you will lose it. It's been said. If you value your material, your possessions, you will lose them. If you value your health, you will lose it. If you value your illness, you will lose it too. Because it's not about health or sickness. It is not about wealth or poverty. It is not about tomorrow, in the truth. And this I say to you with some form of authority today as Grand Commander of the Melchizedecs, who are also destined to be dissolved into the felicity and beatitude of white paradise, entirely without restriction and without any desire for anything else. Well, all of you are going to live it, without exception. So don't delay, that's what I mean by that. Because the more you break, the more you resist, the more you refuse this unspeakable truth, the more you'll suffer. Suffering will inevitably lead you to love. It is impossible otherwise. It is called resilience. It is called mechanisms that correspond to the biochemistry of your body, which is the relay of your eternity. You're in it, but you are not this body. You're in this world, but you are not of this world. You're inside your heart, but you are not your heart anymore. You're in each one, but you are no more the other than you are, since there is no one. So, all those puns we made when we spoke of one person, see that there was no one, time zero, acceptance, sacrifice, tranquility, laziness, humility, simplicity, are today Agape's pedagogy. As long as you claim to see something for yourself, for the future of this earth, you are not free. You're being sausaged directly into the trap of the astral matrix, which, I remind you, has already been well started, already for some years at the collective level, but which is now dissolving. Your astral body and your inferior bodies. mental body, causal body, etheric body, are disappearing. Your body is becoming an inconsistent ghost, and yet you are in it. That explains why some of you are lying down, can no longer go out, as 2-3 years ago, only worse. And that others, on the other hand, are building projects, new professions, new homes, on this earth. But you're not there at all. The real freedom isn't there. And the more you are in these emotional or thought mechanisms, the more you suffer. You don't want to suffer anymore, of course. Accept that there is no one. Accept that what you are is unknown, and it will be known to you instantaneously. There is no need, as we have been saying for years, to even vibrate anymore. There is no need to unfold the vibration, because the vibration is also enclosing, to a certain degree. It has made you discover the supramental, to live it, to live your stellar origins, your lineages, to have visions, to get out of this body as head chief did, to move in his body of eternity, which is also a costume. You are no costume. And when you really live it, there can't be any more pain in you. And you live it every day. Even when your body suffers, you don't suffer. When you lose something, someone, you don't suffer. And when something very happy happens, you're not any happier. You remain in this emptiness, in this peace. It's not an effort. Understand this. It is a total release of all your egotistical, personal and spiritual pretensions, which are nothing but scams, as Buddha said. You don't need anything. Especially not the intergalactic confederation, since we need you. You are the final point, the cul-de-sac of creation. The next step we had the opportunity to talk about was transhumanism. It is the confinement of consciousness, no longer in a biological body, but in binary circuits. This is what the transhumanists want. This is the plan, in quotation marks, of the shadow. But there is no more shadow plan than there is light plan. Today, only the truth is there. And that truth is not up to you. It does not depend on your body. It does not depend on anyone. It does not depend on any entity, any savior, and any world. If you accept that, you are free. It doesn't mean that your life will become a new dream-colored pink. No, it doesn't. It means that you will truly experience, beyond any possible description, that state of peace unlike any other. You could enter into a contemplative aspect and life charisma a big like Moen and Amoy lived it. But you do not need all that, for when you have recognized yourselves, well, it is over. The theater stage, you know that you are there, because you have a body, that you are actors, that you are spectators or observers. You also know that you are the theater as a whole, the set as well as the spectators and the actors. But this is the truth. This is not a play on words. And when you are there, there is a great freedom. Freedom even to play at dreaming, and to continue to have fun seeing everything that happens, and you realize that you will go through horror, because this horror only corresponds to predation, and in freedom, there cannot exist the slightest form, the slightest predation, but also the slightest claim to anything for tomorrow, for the day after tomorrow or for the hour that sets in or that passes. You are 200% available for what is. As long as you want to change what is, of course, it has been necessary for years, to heal certain handicaps, to raise in vibration as we said, since the supramental is vibration, but you are no more the supramental than the paraclete. Or else, you're all at the same time and also your ultimate, of course, that is to say, the devil. All this is you, until you realize it, basically and truly. Here in the middle of your chest, you can live agape, but freedom is not yet here. And that freedom that we had described, I believe with Brother K, as in a freedom, today it is simply freedom, because it is neither outside nor inside, because there is neither inside nor outside. Besides, there is no one. And you are going to see with a great burst of laughter, from the moment you live it, if you have not already done so, that all this is just a sham, to want to feed yourself, to want to earn your living, to want this or that, as Christ said in this story. Does the bird care? Have you come to the level of carelessness and truthfulness? Truth is total carelessness. It doesn't mean refusal or denial, but crossing over. It is this total acceptance that corresponds to the crossing, and that is how you will see, by yourselves, if you have really crossed all the zones of illusions that correspond to the game of consciousness. Involution, evolution, what am I going to become? What am I? You no longer even have to ask yourself, who am I? Or, who am I not? Since you are everything, absolutely everything you have created. And all you see is what you have created. There is no more I'm Michael AïVANHOV, there is no more head chief, there is no more ever. There is absolutely nothing. In the most epistemological sense of the term, that is to say the noblest of definitions, there is no one, and when there is no one, there can be everyone, all the scenarios, and you discover this unspeakable emanation, which is not the agape emanation, which is, of course, part of it, which is a prerequisite, but it is what we have called this great silence. And during the summer months when you still have a possibility of movement, we advise you, as soon as possible and as soon as possible of the illusion of time, to find this great silence. Because the world will take you into its chaos. It will take you to reaction. It will take you to the need to protect yourself, to the need to protect yourself. But it's all about the person and the conscience. Even the ships. Because as I said, we're in your skies, we're appearing more and more. Let it be the forces of the Intergalactic Confederation, let it be the Ekans, let it be the Intergalactic Confederation, not the Intergalactic Confederation, but the Galactic Confederation, who are even worse puppets than we are. That is not true. It's just passing. And the unspeakable is this, there is nothing, there has never been anyone, you do not exist, the world does not exist, and at that moment, you're on this world, you're in this world, but you are not of this world, really and concretely. And I say again that each one of you, whatever you think today, has very exactly the same potential, the same information that was deposited even before creation in the first breath, the naught became the one became the two, and in that two was inscribed the return not to unity, which was sold by the temple merchants and also pious, but the return to truth. The truth is that there is no more naught than one and two, and there is what you are, which was expressed as well by Manander or Hildegard of Bingen, who did not deprive her of delivering even more knowledge, of course. But she was not fooled. That didn't stop her from singing. It didn't stop her from living. But you know, having actually lived it in you, that it's a dream, it's not a play on words. It's a dream and a nightmare that you have to wake up from. And you're not all awake, you really aren't. Even if you have reached a crucial number already for many years. I had said this already at the very beginning during the year 2018 and 2019, at the very beginning of January 2019, with my intervention that lasted many, many hours on this 29th of January, where I explained everything. You see? The song of the geneticist mothers, of the great mothers, has been carried everywhere on this earth and everywhere in creation. It is the good news. Today, be careful, because everything in this world is going to be done to make you react, to lead you towards refusal, towards protest, towards the war of all against all that I announced to you the previous month. It is underway. It is going to get bigger. The only possible refuge is the peace that is within you, but also, that you spontaneously emanate on the entire planet and on all creation. How can I tell you? There, where we are, above your cities closest to your dimension, when we meet, we feel your agape. Your countless, hundreds of thousands of you live it even without knowing what it is called. And when we feel that, we also feel, because of our proximity, all the dreamers who are still in the process of unleashing this morbid dream, of wanting to re-establish the truth about Satanism, about politics, about money. This is no longer the time for that. Of course, it was necessary a few months ago. Today, there is a temporal urgency to discover you in full. And you can't fully discover yourself if you participate, in one way or another, in a reaction to what is discovered, because I remind you that the child rapist as well as the murderer is also you. The source said it in his brief time on earth. If you can't love someone, go your own way. It is Baba, you know, the source, Heidekan Baba. There have been countless sources, countless models. And I told you about a Melchizedek who gave you the information when he was incarnate but who never expressed himself by head chief, simply because they had the same thing to say and make things right, that is, this name you know for many, it's Bernard from Montreal. Now we can say it. And when last year I said that Quebec was the lighthouse of humanity, you'll see what will happen this summer in this country. Because there is a revolution that is not made for masks, even if it is the alibi, but for autonomy, for sovereignty, not of a country, not of a province, not of a state, but of the individual before he discovers that there is no person. And you are living it in real time. You'll see it in the days to come. There's a kind of general conflagration where lies and truths overlap with each other, until it becomes a kind of total imbroglio in which, I would say, a mother couldn't find her child. And when you get tired of, I would say, pulling the thread from the ball of wool and untangling it all, you're going to find out that it's all a cinema, really. And you'll be in a joy that even the agape resonances, when you live them, can't touch. Because the joy is not an outer joy or an inner joy. It's much more than joy. So then, whether you call it the grand silence or Mahasamadhi at the time of death, it is exactly the same. And that is what will precipitate, if I may say so, the whole chronology, which in fact no longer has any, of all the events that must happen, that the prophets, that certain seers, that certain astrologers have predicted from time immemorial. You are therefore in a privileged moment, the most chaotic there is, which is about to take shape, where you are going to find, not the order of the motto of the Illuminati, but you are going to live and discover the truth with ease, without asking for anything, without projecting anything and, above all, without expecting anything. As long as you wait for the event, you are not free. As long as you wait for chaos, you are not free. Chaos, it is in progress, it is written. The scenario, I think Ebba has demonstrated to you in every possible way, that every single comma of what was to be played has been written. You can't change anything. Except this, it's already the discovery of emptiness, peace and agape. And that, you see, is something that is so simple. And of course, the bad boys and the puppets knew that to keep the dream going, you had to join in. And you don't necessarily join a dream by following it. But you adhere even more easily by opposing it. In other words, the more you denounce the puppets today, the more you'll feed them. You're not just going to enlighten them. You will, by showing them, by denouncing them, even in the most abject things, you will feed them. But there's nothing to feed in the bosom of the dream. Exactly, you have to stop feeding it and it disappears by itself. And at that moment, you'll see in the sky Nipia, you'll hear the trumpets, and you will live the 3 days of stashes with ease. We have always told you this. Some of you are actually living phenomena, not mini stashes, but disappearance, which can be painful when you return to this world and you see that there are still obligations to provide. Of course, it is not bliss that will pay your rent. It is not peace that will give you money at first, but afterwards, yes. You'll be fed by this felicity. The money will come through this felicity and not through personal effort or the desire for this or that. In other words, the more you'll remain quiet. If you want to remain quiet, it is very simple. You set yourself the goal of being an observer, but an observer and a silent witness of what your body, your wife, your child, society, the world, the cosmos is going through. Today, if you remain in that observer and witness and you do not react, you will lead, but instantly, to peace. If this does not happen to you, it is an invitation to take a closer look at who you are in the illusion. What are your motivations? What are your dreams? What are your fears that are still underlying and that prevent you from living this freedom that is offered to everyone, with the same equality, because it is the same love. It is the same agape. It is the same peace. It is the same grand silence for everyone. There is no difference. The difference is only linked to projections, to habits, to what you still believe to be real, to suffering, to sickness, to death, to birth. It all belongs to the dream. Accept it totally, and if you are sincere with yourself, that there is no implied need to be free from an illness, the need to have a home, money or a companion. If it is spontaneous and if you are sincere, you are free instantly, without going through the opening of the chakras, through the energies, through the vibrations, through the ascensional crowns, through the luminates, through the visions. Try it. I can't tell you any better. But in any case, life, the nightmare of this world, is going to hit you until you let it go through and you manage to live that all this does not exist, that there has never been evolution, that there has never been involution, that there has never been suffering, that there has never been a character, that there has never been an Michael AïVANHOV, that there has never been an Abba, that there has never been a head chief and that there has never been you. If you accept this, you will be in love with all the other you come across. And it will escape from you without any effort, without any desire, without any appointment with a gape or anyone else. This is what we call the natural state. And don't come and tell me that a pain or a palpitation or the loss of a sense or a limb is in the way, because it's not true. It's an alibi. Today it's an alibi. Everything that happens pleasantly, unpleasantly and even socially, is done only to wake you up, not to make you suffer. And that's what the bad boys don't know they're doing. And besides, it is beginning to dawn on them that the fact that they have locked you up has allowed you to think, has allowed you to settle down, has allowed you to understand what your life was like, what your relationships were like, what your interactions were like. And from there, many of you have already walked, if I may say so, towards this essential peace, towards this great silence, towards a gape even if they do not know what it is. And then others, on the other hand, will make the choice to leave, because the resistance will have been so strong that the soul will have frozen. And what happens when the soul freezes? The blood freezes. It stops flowing. And you get embolisms, you get strokes, you get heart attacks. All you get on the screen of this world today, and they report that it's viruses. It's not the viruses, it's your resistance to the truth. If you do not resist the truth that you do not know, there can be no resistance. There can be no pathologies of the soul. We explained all this to you in 2018 and 2019. You know that there was this primary anomaly where all the information of the soul was sent back, not to spirit, but to matter. This is the turning of the soul that Mahananda Amway was talking about in mid-2012, and 2011 as well. These are all landmarks. I am not inviting you to go and search in the teachings, I am speaking especially for those who have lived through this time. Today, I would say what this sentence, that one of the head chief protectors, a long time ago, before Archangel Enlil, had said to him, before he knew all this. This sentence, it sums it all up. Love and do as you please. If you love, everything you like will be done even if you don't want to. You don't have anything to eat, we'll bring you something to eat. You don't have money, we'll give you money. You don't have a roof over your head, we'll give you a roof over your head. But if you ask for it, you won't get it. That's acceptance. That's sacrifices you could live it today, from wherever you are and wherever you are. Of course, the same thing is not asked of everyone. Some don't need chaos, they are already at peace. And their life is going to become a most fragrant, most pleasant dream. Whatever they see in their bodies, whatever they see in their relationships, whatever they see on the stage of the world, these beings there, liberated, remain in this lightness. They cannot forget it. They cannot turn away from it. You see, so if you don't live it, don't feel guilty about it. You are passing to this ultimate stage of grand silence which is no longer a gape, but which joins all that we have said to each other about stasis, the 3 days of darkness, about white paradise, and the awakening of the dream. In other words, when you awaken today, you will never again be able to go back to sleep, be it in a world of form, in even the most ethereal dimension, you will remain as Ma said, as Hildegard said, you will remain in this eternal bliss and beatitude which is our only abode. There are many abodes in creation, but there is only one abode in truth, and it is this abode of eternity where the world has never appeared and never disappeared. Of course, your body, depending on its age, will remain until stashes or leave before, but you make no attachment to it, you make no desire for it, or even, I would say, no will. It all happens in a beautiful chemical way, as I said, spontaneously, and you can do nothing about it. As long as you believe you can do something about it, you're in power over this process. Then life for one another will lead you directly by the creative intelligence, by the intelligence of the light that you are, and by the shock to the truth, whether you want it or not, because you have no choice. If you still believe that you have a choice, today, it is because you are not free. Freedom is not a matter of choice, freedom is a non-choice, it is an evidence like a gape. Today, autonomy, sovereignty is much more important than anything else. And it's going to start causing problems, not only in societal structures, but even in family structures where you had the head of the family, the man or the woman, it doesn't matter, the one who leads, who thinks he's giving the orders, but he's going to get packed up, the same with the children, the same with the parents, the same at the office. The hierarchy so dear to the organization of work no longer means anything. There is as much value in someone who has his feet in the dirt as there is in someone who designed the car engine. It's the same value, it's the same life. It's not the same wages, but it's basically the same life. I'm not talking about the lives of individuals, but I'm talking about life. Today, you are life, and if you are life, you will be able to claim less and less anything within your life. Things will happen naturally or not. The more fluid it is, the fluidity of the unity, the easier it is and the more it is true. The more complicated it is and the more obstacles there are, the more certain you can be that it is not the truth that you must follow, but that you're elsewhere than in the truth. The truth is an evidence. Silence is an evidence, and your life, yes, your personal life, the one that does not exist, becomes also an evidence whatever happens or does not happen elsewhere. Then you can play that game of the stage. You may feel emotions, even terrible anger about the masquerade, about the confinement, about the mask, you may be fed up with it, you may be angry, but at some point you will understand that it is not your anger, and that none of it is you. That's one of the ways to do it, and at that moment, on the other side, if I may say so, since there is no other side, there is no door, and in the present instant, there is only the present instant. There is no place for personal affairs, emotions, they are there, but they cross, they are not frozen, thoughts will always be there, but they cross, they are not stopped. It is you who give way to your own thoughts and your own emotions, and who create them in your world, whether it is through illness, whether it is through social interactions or social status that are played out between each other, between husband and wife, for example, between a parent and a child. But that no longer holds true today. You will be forced for the time that remains, to compose between freedom, essential, inviolable, and the circumstances of the relationships of this world, but you will see there also, through the play of experience, through the repetition of events, that you have no other alternative than to let go, and, as soon as you let go, you will smile at yourselves, you will be instantly happy, I tell you, even if a cancer is taking you away. Look at all our star sisters, especially the women, the star sisters, they have all told you that there is only one thing they are waiting for, and that is to reach the eternity. That's not why they ran away from this world. Look at Hildegard of Bingen, all she left. Because when we are liberated and we are incarnated, which is the case for many of you today, you are no longer fooled by anything, you're in this total reception whether you want it or not. You're in this total felicity no matter what your mind says, no matter what your emotions say, no matter what your consciousness says, and there, you are truly free from consciousness itself, which, I remind you, is the most serious of diseases, and the luck we have is that when consciousness was created, it was necessarily mortal. Consciousness is mortal, supraconsciousness is mortal, you're anterior to consciousness, and today, it is not proposed to you to adhere to it without living it, but to live it directly through the simplest or most serious events of your illusory life. It is in what you live in your body, in your relationships, possibly in dream projects, new activities, new things, new journeys that you're alive, not because you project yourself in the journey or in the project, but because you have accepted the present instant, and whatever becomes of this journey, whatever becomes of this project, you are totally independent of it. You are no longer in emotion, you are no longer in thought, you are no longer in the mind, you are no longer in the supermind and its evolving visions, you are the absolute truth that lives itself in illusion, through this perishable form and this perishable world that is totally perishing. There is freedom, and I believe that Faham, the great mothers, through what they have delivered to you for more than a year and a half now, have allowed you to make this leap towards freedom. You can see it, the animals are leaving, you also have brothers and sisters who are leaving with cancer, with diseases, and if you are careful, no matter what is expressed, to mourn, if I may say so, the form, this world or this body, there is something that is going to transpire more and that some of you perceive. It is this peace that emanates from these beings. The more you are at peace, the less you are drawn into the nightmare that is unfolding before you. And I cannot lie to you, I am not going to tell you that everything is going to be rose color tomorrow, no, everything is going to be darker and darker, more and more terrible, darker and darker for the conscience and for the person and more enjoyable, really, for what you are, not as an unhealthy pleasure, but really because you cannot do otherwise, no matter what your spouse says to you, no matter what society says to you, no matter what the laws say to you, no matter what your place of life says to you, you are free in spite of everything and especially thanks to all that. And at that moment, of course, forgiveness and prayer are a permanent state that asks for nothing, that projects nothing, but it is this felicity that is self-sustaining, whatever your character says, whatever your body says, whatever your loved ones say and whatever society says. You see, and you are more and more to understand this mechanism, not necessarily to live it because you have to dare to, as you would say in popular language, you have to have it. To let go of security and certainties, but that's what we see freedom, that's what we see sovereignty and autonomy, certainly not through visions or prayers, but through assurance. That assurance is not confidence, it is not will. That kind of assurance is the assurance of the heart, which needs neither power, nor predation, nor energy, nor convincing anything, that is your natural state, your essence, which manifests itself no matter what is played by the character, by the body or by society. So there is a kind of skimming, a settling that takes place naturally between what is ephemeral, and therefore false, and what is true and will never pass. You have nothing to do. As long as you believe you have to do, you train yourselves to suffer. As soon as you accept what is like something that has been written, and which must take place as it is, you are free. And that is how you become the pure light that enlightens the worlds, and enlightens the consciences, about this disease that is consciousness. Of course, this will bring about many upheavals in the days and weeks to come, especially in what you call the spiritual or energetic circles that will bring about, I would say, great suffering, because they maintain duality. We must do good, we must drive out evil, we must drive out demons, but demons do not exist any more than you do, since it is you, and you do not exist, you are the truth cannot exist because to exist means to stand outside of being. The truth can only be in the being and the non-being that have found each other. There is a gap, and there is what you are. All the rest, all your concerns, money, sexual, emotional, family, societal, will appear to you to be totally ridiculous. In any case, there will be nothing more to report, because the chaos will be total, but, I assure you that your joy will be as total as the chaos that will be outside, even if for the moment you don't live it, even if for the moment it seems impossible. That is exactly what you will live through in the adventures of this summer soap opera, if I may say so. I have told you that this year 2020, of course, is the year of the great judgment for the ego, but there is no judgment, it is the great return of the truth. You are the truth. You are neither the ego nor the consciousness, you are nothing of what you are living here and you are nothing of what you can live within a form. Some of you have already passed through space and I am not talking about leaving the body. Some of you are able to perceive that you are no longer this body boundary, nor the other body boundary, but that you are really the space, and this space of zero time, that is where the information is, that is where all the scenarios have been written. You don't have to live them all. You don't need to get out of your body, you don't need to have visions, you don't need to have energies, you need to be true. You no longer need to be in well-being. The being does not have to be good or bad, because well-being and ill-being are only the same two sides of the dream of the being. But you are the non-being at the origin of being. Realizing it, accepting it makes you live it, but if you do not accept it, or if you accept it only as a concept, you will not live it before stashes, and I warn you, it will be a chaos without a name, and this chaos is there, instantaneously from everywhere. You see it in all the countries where you are at any level. But the chaos will not be followed by a new order, contrary to what the puppets are saying. Chaos brings you back to the essence, to the origin of the first form, to the origin of who you are and who is a non-being. But all this cannot be concepts, because even at the spiritual and energetic level, most of the brothers and sisters who are on these paths are totally opposed to this, just as they opposed agape by saying that it was a sect. While people no longer gather, they are at home, alone, and they live agape with a brother on the other side of the planet. Where is the organization? Where is the pseudo-cult? Those who are in sects are all those who are in religions, all those who are in energy movements, in associations. Everything that is organized is false. Life said Krishnamurti, Brother K, doesn't have to be organized. Organize, yes, your kitchen. You know the knife is there, the plate is there. But not at the level of who you are, and who you are is much more important than anything you think you're doing as a person today. It's up to you, as long as you think you have a choice. Either to be in the dream or to be in freedom, but you will be less and less able to conjugate freedom with the dream, and it is freedom that puts an end to the dream and to the white paradise, and to Mary's call and to the trumpets. All that is now. So there are some who have fun with dates, but you can say, it is tomorrow, you can say, it is the end of the year, you can say, it is in 2 months, in 3 months, it will change nothing, and nobody, I mean nobody, not even ever, not even Christ can know the date, because this date is not a date. Understand what I'm saying, it's not a given moment, it's a given space. It is the space in which you have entered at the level of the displacement of the Earth and the solar system, that is to say the alignment of the central sun of the galaxy, but all that we had already explained during the year 2008, and even by Sereti, as early as the year 2006 to 2007, it has been 14 years. You see, it is not today. Not all those who have gone before, and in particular the Melchizedecs with their mistakes, with their torments or their shortcomings, because the two must be enlightened. You see, we were all, even when I was incarnated, subjected to terrible forces. For example, today, you see the whole history of pedophilia spread out on the world screen, but do you believe that the so-called beings of light that you adore today, of which I am a part, and that even Brother K and Esho, and so many others among men, have been so respectful of that? No, not at all. Because we were, as you will today for some, embarked, and you have put your finger in the gears and the gears grind you down. It's a time of great forgiveness, because this is all a dream. So don't judge, but see clearly. When we tell you not to judge, it's not the judgment of a circumstance or to say that this brother is like that, he did such and such a stupid thing. That's about illusion, that. Don't judge the truth because you don't know it, and when you live the truth, the judgment, even the notion of judgment, the notion of true or false, the notion of inside out, of being and non-being, don't mean anything anymore. That is what you were promised, and that is what you can, today, live immediately, and don't tell me it is not true. If you consider that it is not true, it is because you have not yet seen in yourself what keeps you prisoner, the guilt, all the physiological, energetic, societal, emotional needs, those needs that seem so essential to you, perhaps even today, are nothing compared to the truth. Truth is a permanent satisfaction. Some of you who have lived through this, not in this period, but already if you dig into the few memories you have left, you may have, some of you, memories of several decades ago when you experienced this love of Christ, this surge of love for creation, for the brothers, for the sisters, a moment almost of ecstasy, and I would say that today, even that a cinema, there is only the grand silence, before everything and after everything. Everything else is only passing. So you see, there is no better learning, there is no better school, there is no better teaching than, very precisely, what you are living right now, whatever you say. If you do not agree, it is because you are not living the truth. He who lives the truth cannot contradict these words, because he has lived it within himself, and he lives it at every moment, whatever he thinks about it, whatever his emotions, whatever his emotional or societal ties, they no longer represent anything. As long as you have not arrived at this understanding which is not intellectual, but which is linked to your present life, there, at this moment on earth, where you are not totally free. Now the circumstances of your scenario, you have built them yourselves, you have written them to free yourselves, and you are never as close to the truth as when you say, I no longer understand anything, I am fed up with these stories of energy, these stories of ascension, these stories of confederation, of this world. When you come to some kind of exasperation, of being too full of every aspect of your life, or of society, then at that point you are free. You know what I mean? It's exactly the opposite of how the person and the personality, or the behavior, and all that, of course, the puppets, the beings who are locked in sectarian, energetic and spiritual approaches cannot see it. Blessed are the simple of spirit, to become like a child again. The path of childhood we have talked so much about, is today the only possible way. As long as you believe that you are going to accumulate Keka openings, as long as you believe that you are going to activate the gates and the stars, things that we had been doing for years for the most ancient among you, which were intended to bring a model of energetics, a model of the body of eternity, but the bodies of eternity, all the bodies of eternity come down to one body. Head Chief and others, who have traveled in bodies of eternity, will all tell you that they are costumes. It is a garment that you wear like the body, but it would never occur to you to identify yourself with your costume, your coat, your social role. Yet this is what this society has achieved, yet this is what this world has achieved, and yet this is what has been written to arrive at the omega point, which is the point of resolution and zero time for all creation, which may seem enormous to say and even to conceive, but for the one who lives it, it is the strict truth, and the one who lives this absolute truth can no longer be altered by the slightest relative truth related to this world or any world. He could remain in beatitude 24 hours a day as Mayananda did, but it is not worth it. These people prefer to be in simplicity, in the full and entire living experience of each minute, that is to say, to be totally lucid in what is happening at the instant. That is all that Buddha taught you in 2012 about the observer, about rebuttal, but today I would say to a magnified octave that transcends all dimensions, all illusions and all dreams. And you will not be able to escape from the truth. The truth is looking for you, but you are not true as long as you are looking for it. You cannot search for what you are, you can only recognize it, you can only understand it through living it, everything else is a cinema. You are going to be confronted, one and all, whatever your location today, with this same dynamic at the individual level, at the planetary level and at the cosmic level. And do not look for a date, because every day is a date, every day is an unexpected opportunity to finally live the truth, which does not depend on you or on any world, nor on any master, nor on any action, nor on any circumstance, but simply on your ability to let yourself be recognized. Do you want to recognize yourself? But you cannot recognize yourself in anything known, nor in the past life, nor in the being of light, nor in an angel, nor in the devil. Take hold of this and, above all, do it. You do not need knowledge, you do not need reference points, you do not need prerequisites such as vibrations, the wave of life, the sacred limnisate, the elementary triangles and all the different energies and vibrations that the most ancient ones have lived through, do you not? It is your freshness, your candor, your innocence in living the present instant in its totality that makes you discover the truth. No step, no meditation, no prayer, no energy, no vibration, today, can make you live the chaos of this world and of creation in freedom. Only agape, only sovereignty, humility and simplicity can do it. It is a form, I would say, of a didactic means. It is not a teaching to allow you to adjust, I would say, to the closest. So, I like that word. I think LJFD Kepasari used it before me. It is a kind of agape pedagogy, a kind of pedagogy of the present instant, which does not need to be burdened with mathematical formulas, which does not need to be burdened with knowledge, and whose only support and tool is exactly what you are living in the present instant. If you accept this, all the trivialities, all the energies and all the entities will disappear, and you will indeed find, as we tell you, that there has never been anyone and that you are the whole and that you are nothing. When you were told that you are everything and nothing, that the first step is to be nothing, that the second step is to be everything, and to see in the end that all this is just passing by, that is exactly that. It's accessible. The veils, the so-called individual astral matrix, the etheric mesh that kept you within the predatory system, has jumped, I remind you, has started to disintegrate, more than a year and a half ago. But now it is your lines of predictions, linked to the astral body, which are burned by the Agmas body, which is still a form, or the divine body if you prefer, which burns the causal body, the mental body, the astral body, the etheric body and finally the physical body. These are the famous 3 days, the famous disappearances related to the white paradise, when you become the white paradise. All of this, both in what we have transmitted to you from the Intergalactic Confederation, and in all the prophets, from all traditions and currents, who tell you the same thing. So, of course, some people have made projections about this. Earlier, I was talking about Bernard of Montreal who, of course, at the time, as I and even my master, the great Peter Deneuve, were forced to talk about a new land, a new race. But who can and who would have the slightest claim, having lived the truth, to want to go and have fun in the freest possible form? I guarantee you that no one, absolutely no one can turn away from the truth. It is impossible, and the experience of the truth, final, is initial, it is the same, it deconditions you from the illness and the dream of the consciousness. That is how it happens. So do not try to say this is true, this is false, there is a future, there is no future, there is only the absolute, there are dimensions, it all belongs to the dream, but there's no point in saying it. You have, today, this incredible grace to be able to live it, I would say, instantly, beyond any prerequisite. I would even say that those who think that they should have prerequisites, of opening of the chakras, of spiritual research, of having studied I do not know how many traditions, religions, of having done meditation retreats, of energetics and others, are the most handicapped to live the truth. The one who is on the path of childhood, the one who has never believed in anything, who has never lived anything, and who is perfectly inserted in the present moment, is much more apt to live the naked truth, than the one who has passed the steps that we have spent with you during all these years. You have worked, you have been the anchors of the light, you have been the seeds of the stars, you are the stars, but above all, you are nothing of what is passing, and it is up to you, it is your sole responsibility, to live it in the circumstances you are living in at the present time. If you are surrounded by love, that is what you needed to see the illusion of that love. If you are surrounded by suffering and if you are suffering, that is exactly what you needed to find yourself. If you are poor, that is exactly what you needed. If you are wealthy, that is exactly what you need. You see, acceptance has to go that far, sincerely, really, within you, and then you are free. It is, I repeat, it does not take an hour, it does not take weeks, it does not take years, it happens instantaneously, and you will see that, as with agape, the testimonies of agape that you exchanged, that you published, are nothing compared to the beauty of this instant of ultimate changeover where everything makes sense, but where nothing makes sense. There you are in your sovereignty, in the great silence, and you are in the only place where you have never moved. And you live it, in your flesh, you live it in your subtle bodies, you live it in your emotions, you live it in your thoughts. You're at that instant really free from consciousness, even if you still carry a supra-consciousness or an ordinary consciousness. There will be no possible identification with the dream or the nightmare. And that depends on you. In these times, it does not depend on the visibility of Napier or the comet in your sky, which is visible to all, as has been said, northern hemisphere as well as southern hemisphere. It depends on you. And when you will be at a given moment, and in a quasi-synchronous way, in the space of 24 to 48 hours, countless to live the truth, saying all this is only a dream, and you have lit it and you will exchange on that. You will not even exchange anymore on this word agape and on this agape living experience. You are the path, the truth and the life, and Head Chief told you this when he began to live all these experiences in 2018, long after freedom, long after the liberation which, for the first ones, I remind you, took place in 2012. You were liberated, yes, but now you are free, that is to say, there is nothing to liberate. And it is not dialectical what I am telling you, it is the strict truth that is to be lived. So I can only encourage you to be more and more immersed in your life, which is life. If things must change with agape, with peace, they will change by themselves. But if you make efforts to have to change, even to cure a deadly disease, you will die. Where's your faith in who you are? Where is what you say, what you live, what you affirm, and the truth that you are? There can be no deception, no mistake, no way out, because you can only, as it has always been said, recognize yourself in that. You see, all of this is being lit at this very moment since, as I told you, the month of May, June, but with a sharpness that will unfold, I would say, with force and clash. We have been telling you for years, everything you care about holds you. If you didn't understand it, you're going to understand it now because you're going to live it. Everything you care about, everything you believe in is coming true, and today immediately in your life. If you believe in the truth that is unknown to you, if you have this faith, not in a future or a becoming, not in Christ, not in Buddha, not in any being, but in the truth that does not depend on any world, then you live it, otherwise you will enter into resistance. But remember that even resistance, even suffering, even death, even the disappearance of what is most dear to you today, children, parents or others, will make you discover the truth and live the truth. Do not judge any circumstance, and I guarantee that today, what I have called for years the puppets, the bad boys, the illuminated ones, have never served the light as much as with all the crap they have done and continue to do. So we can thank them for confining you, for putting masks on you, for wanting to inject you with vaccines. Yes, we have to thank them, really, because the forces opposed to the light have done an absolutely remarkable work of light within the dream. And of course, I would also like to thank the Aiyans for all these forces of friction and confinement that they have put since then, at least in this solar system for more than 320,000 years, to allow us to find each other again. This is what I had already hinted at, and you're also Head Chief too, because I know very well that on this earth when you're incarnated, you venerate the geneticist mothers, you venerate the sacred feminine, but you have not forgotten to also venerate the Aiyans who are yourselves. There is no more Aiyun than there is Mary, it is the same entity, and it is you. You are not going to judge yourselves anyway. It was a dream that ended in a nightmare, but it has no substance. It was just passing by. Unfortunately there were, I would say, some great players and the best players. It certainly wasn't us from the Intergalactic Confederation. But I would say that the best players in this fool's game were still the Aiyans and the Illuminatis, because they have constancy in their determination and in their goal, which will never come, of course, but which made it possible to make the dream end in a nightmare and to go in the direction of freedom. Contrary to appearances, the more you are locked up, the more you are restricted in external movements, paradoxically, the more you are free inside, and that is how you discover that there is neither inside nor outside. It is not time to change the world or to change the paradigm, it is time to understand that there is nothing to change and that everything is perfect, and you are free, and you are true. Of course, some of you continue and will continue to show what is to be enlightened, but even for those brothers and sisters, and of which chief head is a part, I would like to tell you one thing. The more you smile, even in the face of horror, the more you absorb all that, the more you forgive, the more you love the unspeakable, not to reproduce it, but precisely to dissolve it in love. You cannot reject the unspeakable, you can only absorb it, because it is you. You're at the same time the child who is raped, you're at the same time the saint who gives food and, at the same time, the murderer. These are only role-playing games, and the roles I would say the most ungrateful ones, those who have preyed here on your world, those whom you call politicians, bankers, financiers, are excellent actors. The only problem is that they don't all know they were acting yet, but that's okay. They're going to remember it as well as you remember it. So please don't judge, now less than ever. Do not condemn because you judge, what you condemn, you do it to yourself. I said this in humorous form a few years ago. It is he who says who is. But now you're going to check it out right away. There is no more latency, your space, there is no more time. This is what I had to tell you on behalf of the Intergalactic Confederation of Free Worlds. But I would also like to point out that, in some of the speeches that we may be fortunate enough to have in the next 2 weeks, it will be, above all, no longer to speak as we have done even in recent years, but only something extremely practical to enable you to live the truth, whatever your state, whatever your situation, whatever your thoughts and whatever your emotions, because there is nothing else but that. And that is all that will remain, of course. That is it, so the time is no longer for knowledge, is no longer for the teaching of the chakras or the gates or the stars, but the time is for the truth, and the truth has no need to do anything. Continue for those who want to heal, be it with crystals, scalar waves, energies, continue, but that is not the truth, whether you want it or not. The truth is out there. Discover and live the truth, which will not prevent you afterwards from healing if you're a therapist, but you will find at that moment that you no longer need a diagnosis, nor an intention, nor a will to heal anything, because you are what heals, simply by your lucidity and by the truth that you live. There is no longer any need to mobilize energies, there is no need to ask for the healing of anything, it is simply enough to turn this lucidity, without asking for anything, towards the earth, towards a brother or a sister, towards an enemy, without expecting anything, without projecting anything, and the other is consumed with love. It is as simple as that, but you have to experience it, you have to prove it to yourself, you have to prove it to yourselves, and that is exactly what the chaos of life will bring about on this earth, and not only in the West, I say, on the entire planet, in the days and weeks that lie ahead of you. Do not forget my words. You are the truth. The truth does not need a world, the truth does not need energy, the truth does not need form, and, above all, it does not need you to put your grain of salt in it as a person or as a so-called spiritual entity. If you're in that kindness, in that reception, in that transparency, in that instant you are free, and you will only be able to spot it. Even if you fall back into fears, into shortcomings, into habits, you will no longer be able not to see it, you will no longer be able to be fooled by the illusion of form and the illusion of time. We're here for that, to live it with you from the limits of anthropomorphism, the hate Hakodesh, the civilization of triangles, the riders, the dominations, the virtues, the thrones, they are all there in you, in your heart, all awake, all revealed. Then it is up to you to see, to live the truth, because the dream anyway will not be able to last, the nightmare is coming to an end, at the level of what we had called the myth of creation. You are the absolute purity that is recognized in all forms and that is no form, that is recognized in all worlds and that is no world, that is recognized in all ways but that is no way, and this with strength and vigor. This is what life, and the encounter between the ephemeral and the eternal at the collective level, is achieving here in this solar system with all the forces, if I may say so, that have played the game of creation. And remember also that you're all of this, you're both the saint and the murderer. Do not judge, accept that this has no consistency, and you are free of yourselves, free of your body even if it is heavy and old, free of your emotions even if they are there and allow you to live, free of your thoughts even if they must exist to allow you to move forward without the dream, free of yourselves, free of all others. That is naked love and agape interdimensional space resonance, but which no longer needs words, which no longer needs definitions, which no longer needs adjustments, but which is the ineffable beauty of what you are called to live, right there, right now. But no one can serve two masters at the same time. You can no longer, as I said, have your ass between two chairs. First of all, there is no more chair and then there is no more ass, you see. If you accept that, an unspeakable lightness will live, an unspeakable permanent satisfaction is in you, and the more you will want to enlighten this world, at first with anger over everything that has been going on for millennia, anger is justified, but after anger comes negotiation, after negotiation comes acceptance, and right behind that is freedom. You're really waking up. The example of the teaching of Nisargadatta, of Baidu, in relation to the Turiya consciousness, to the sleeping consciousness, if you are free when you sleep, the world does not exist when you sleep, you just don't remember it. I am talking about the world without dreams and without nightmares. Some of you wake up in the morning keeping this felicity where there are no forms, no worlds, no characters, that is what you are called to live, with strength, by your life itself, by your body which is sick or healthy, he calls you to that, to the truth. Everything is only a pretext to the truth, even the chaos. I have seen you wearing the masks, having viruses that this time are not manufactured, but appeared from all sides at the same time. Remember what I was saying about viruses, they are astral particles that are bound to the astral matrix, the matrix of confinement, whether they are DNA, RNA, whatever you want to call it. Elevate your point of view, don't just keep your eye in the microscope. And the more you elevate your point of view, the more you'll see that it is a dream, even your life, even your pain, even your illness, even your death, even your desires, even your lack of it, it does not exist today. And everything is there to live it. That is why I was saying, also through your life, not through what I tell you or what another brother and sister might tell you, but through your own life, you will discover it, and it cannot fail. Buddha said that his words could not fail, that is the truth. But today I tell you that the dream you are living cannot fail. Eber told you, it was written down to the comma, you wrote it down because you're all Eber. There is only one consciousness and this consciousness discovers itself as a disease. Really, there is freedom. So do not confuse the unconsciousness, the consciousness, the supraconsciousness, and what was named at the time, I remind you, the consciousness, not the unconsciousness, which is prior to the consciousness. That is what is revealed and revealed in each one of you through the play of your life, your script, and the interaction of your script with the script of the world, that is to say your family, your neighborhood, your region, your country, the earth, and all the multiverses and universes. This is what I had to say. I will not linger, and I point out that if everything goes as planned, I will return and Eber, head chief and the great mothers, the geneticist mothers, especially Feham, no longer on giving you vibrations, energies, but on this kind of pedagogy, and head chief would say technique without technique, that in your life, in your most banal and daily acts of your life, or as in the most important surprises or shocks of your life, is exactly the solution. It leads to a vigilance of every moment, that of the observer who will refute, but without needing to refute. Unlike 2012, today, you simply have to be in acceptance of what happens from the morning you open your eyes, in everything you will do or not do in your days. Every event, a bird passing by, an insect bite, a fall, is a way to make you live the truth. Do not consider anything else. There is no retribution or punishment, and if you adopt, I would say, this posture, this attitude of consciousness, very quickly you will be free, very, very quickly. It is a matter of days as individuals, of weeks. There is no more latency. If you had seen, and if you still have the memory for some of the teachings that were there before Ad, during Ad and after Ad, you see this chronology. At the time, Serati in 2007 talked about the absorption by the solar petrosphere of Mercury and the absorption by the red giant that the Sun will become of our entire solar system. That was explained a long time ago. It sounded completely far-fetched. Today it's the truth. So, years ago, we had unfolded a scenario that was spread out in time and, for a short time now, we have been telling you that there is no more time, because the information of time zero, of the intelligence of light, of the Paraclete, of the spirit of the sun, of AYVANHOV, is there, accessible, within reach of your heart, as soon as you stop thinking about the turpitudes of this world. It has been said by the greatest psychologists. He who dreams always looks outside, he who is true never looks outside. The outside is there, of course, and in very special circumstances, but it no longer has any kind of importance. If you still find the slightest importance or the slightest justification, whatever it may be, even logical within this world, it is because you are not free. Freedom does not mean once again that you are not going to have to face your obligations, whether it be to pay a bill, a receipt or anything else, but life and creative intelligence will manifest itself at every moment, not only by this state of beatitude and felicity of zero time, but even the dream that you are living will be completely transformed in spite of the chaos of the world, and precisely because of the chaos of the world. When the world is no longer, in one way or another, you are free. When the world is no longer at night when you sleep, you are free, and you do not always have the memory of this beatitude. Today, it is not even a memory, because as soon as you accept this posture and this behavior that I have been talking about since all my speech, then you will live it. And no case can fail, none. If it seems to you to fail, it is because somewhere you have not yet sufficiently gone through the character with his last habits, his attachments, logical again at the level of the person, but which have nothing to do with the truth. True freedom has no conditions, true freedom knows no law, no moral, societal, good or evil obligation. It is identical to itself, it is radiance of pure white light and radiance of non-being. That is all that you have called, what we have called in the past, the saints with the miracles, but even the saint, remember what I said, has always begun by being a sinner in the most spiritual sense of the word. There is no fisherman without a future and there is no saint without a past, so forget all that, be fully immersed in what life gives you to live, or in what it takes from you, or in what it gives you. In what emerges in your character are the means to see the truth and to live the truth. There is no point in gesticulating, there is no point in opposing, contrary to what many still believe. Do not confuse opposition with enlightenment. Enlightenment is the prerogative of the approach to truth. It enlightens without judging, it sees things as they are, even the most horrible things, without needing to judge or condemn them. Of course, he or she can disapprove them, disagree with them, but it is precisely his or her free gaze that enlightens and allows one to cross over and resolve. That is it. I hope I have not been too long to say the same things to you often, but I insist, and this will be my final word. Today you have, in your life, at the age you are, in the total general conditions of what you are living, the solution, not of this world, but the solution to who you are. It is the Alpha and the Omega that come together, it is the event, it is the visibility of the comet in your sky, the visibility of Napier, the stars that fall on the earth, the third of the seas that will disappear and the third of the land, all that in this chaos, the cosmic farce, because it is a real cosmic farce, is revealed. So what I am giving you is a great message, not of hope or expectation but of truth, no matter what you think today, no matter that you are still in your spiritual chimeras, no matter that you are in your sixth root race, no matter that you are in family problems, health problems, money problems, it does not matter. Whether you are in opulence and abundance, it doesn't matter. The truth is not there and it does not correspond to any law of this world and to any law from anywhere else, even Thanksgiving. We have been telling you for years, the state of grace, grace and the grace, it was a way to bring out a potential. All the potentials have emerged and all the potentials of confinement have been destroyed and are being destroyed. What you call debt, what you call the laws of this world, the laws of matter, I'm not even talking about the laws of society, but gravity, gravitation, good and evil just don't exist anywhere else but in the dream. This is what I had to tell you, and we will insist very soon on these notions of pedagogy, as I said, of forgivable truth. Truth can only be lived, it cannot be stated, because as soon as you see something that seems true to you, it is a point of view. Truth cannot seem to be true, it can only be striking, total, infallible, permanent and recognizable among all. That is agape, that is the great silence. Allow me to convey to you all my blessings and all my love, and I say to you, as usual, see you very soon, that is, in a little more than 2 weeks. Goodbye. Through Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. Revised English Translation. LMF, DeepL Translator.